We had these guests on earlier, one of them particularly, Tim Miller, a former Secret Service agent, joining us again, and we appreciate that with the breaking news. And Bernard Zapor, he is joining us as well. He is also, with his background, excuse me, I was pulling this up too. I wanted to make sure that I got your title right. Former Secret Service agent, also a former special agent in charge for the ATF. Thank you both for coming back on. Tim, let me just jump to you on that. The Secret Service director stepping down, the Congresswoman Nancy Mace from South Carolina, she said this. Remember, she had a fiery exchange with her yesterday, said first display of competence I've seen from her. Tim, we just talked to you about this, and here we are in this moment. Things have turned already.
Yeah, we all knew it needed to come. It didn't happen as fast as I think it should have, but I'm not going to pile on Kim Cheadle. I don't know why she resigned. I would suspect it's because of the political pressure from both sides. But the reality is the Secret Service now can begin to restructure, reorganize, and actually to heal, because it's not just her in leadership. It's the way the agency has been taken. And now's the time for a fresh start. My hope and prayer is that as they're searching for her replacement, it's not a political entity, or at least it shouldn't be. Go for the most qualified, demonstrated leader that you can find. This mission is too important to not have someone leading it that is going to be able to take it quickly and effectively back to where it was.
As you're seeing the reaction pour in from lawmakers, including Texas Senator Ted Cruz saying about damn time. Bernard, you're looking at the timeline, right? It's been days, it's been more than a week since the former president was shot at in a failed assassination. Why now is this happening? Why did it take so long for her to step aside?
Unfortunately, this is all political theater, because any competent investigator knows that you have to exploit every possibility, piece of information, and it doesn't come from people that have watched a lot of television and have climbed around and are making quick assessments. Now, you have some really skilled people that were on that detail. They probably had a very sense of what the problem was, obviously. I understand the director, she got just abused yesterday in that hearing. And unfortunately, the judiciary was asking questions they know that nobody in her position could answer at this time, because there's an active investigation. And so even if she wanted to cooperate with knowledge she had, she wouldn't have been able to share it lawfully. And so I'm very happy that the agency is going to be able to move on and get going forward. However, there has to be a very competent investigation led by law enforcement people that will break this thing down at the micro level, and to be able to identify all causation, not just the tactics and the planning, but also see the budget and the politics and the inferences that led to the decisions, really, that perhaps this was treated as a regular campaign visit, not the presence of a former president. Because obviously, if the president was on that stage, it is believed that this would have never happened. It would have had a completely different security profile to it.
Yeah, not to mention what a difference an inch makes, right? How this conversation that we're all having right now would be so much different. The president was shot. An inch over, the president is killed. You have a completely different situation, quite frankly, a completely different country that you're dealing with on your hands moving forward. Tim, I'll bring you back in the conversation, and we'll show this again really quick. Congressman Collins from Georgia putting out, you're seeing over and over now reaction from lawmakers here in bipartisan form, but Congressman Collins says in no surprise after a performance on Capitol Hill as impressive as the Ivy League presidents, USSS Director Cheadle has resigned. It took an unprecedented 10 days for her to figure out where the buck actually stops. Many are saying her career declined steeper than a sloped roof. Hopefully all of our protectees will be safer for it. And with that in mind, protectees, it was testified yesterday by Cheadle that the Secret Service protects 36 individuals, not to mention foreign leaders when visiting as well. Oversees the department of 8,000 employees and a budget, working with a budget of $3.1 billion. Tim, obviously the next person to take up this role will be looking for, rather, who appoints them will be looking for a significant background, an upgrade, if you will, from this situation. And I'm curious to know, Tim, your thought on how scrutinized this next appointee would be.
Well, let me put it like this. if we don't understand that you have to have the most capable, qualified, experienced, and quite frankly, dynamic leader in this job, regardless of male, female, whatever race, then we've missed the whole point. This is a direct result of putting into place hiring practices and changing time-tested things that almost cost us the life of former President Trump. So I'm hoping and praying there would be bipartisan unity, which is rare in Washington, to select the next person. I personally believe it needs to be a Secret Service insider, somebody who's worked their entire life in the Secret Service, knows what we used to be and can lead us back to that. We used to hire only the most qualified. We used to hire the experienced folks from the military and from other agencies. And that needs to get back because, again, it's about the mission. If we don't have protected candidates and presidents, we don't have a fair election process. So that's my hope and prayer.
Yeah, indeed. Gentlemen, if you could bear with us, we do have a copy of the resignation letter. It's lengthy. So we'll begin with that. To the men and women of the U.S. Secret Service, the Secret Service solemn mission is to protect our nation's leaders and financial infrastructure. On July 13th, we fell short on that mission. The scrutiny over the last week has been intense and will continue to remain as our operational tempo increases. As your director, I take full responsibility for the security lapse. However, this incident does not define us. We remain an organization based on integrity and staffed by individuals of exceptional dedication and talent. As I've stated, the Secret Service will move forward with our investigatory and protective mission in a steadfast manner. We do not retreat from challenge. However, I do not want my calls for resignation to be a distraction from the great work each and every one of you do towards our vital mission. When I got the call asking if I would return to the Secret Service after my brief retirement, I did not hesitate. I love this agency, our mission, and the great men and women who sacrifice so much every day. I have and will always put the needs of this agency first. In light of recent events, it is with a heavy heart that I have made the difficult decision to step down as your director. When I assumed the role as your director, I pledged to do so with honor and integrity. These values have guided my entire career for 29 years. As many of you know, I served as a special agent for 27 years, securing events for former POTUS Clinton, working as a supervisor on VP Cheney's detail, leading RTC, operating as the SAIC of ATL, supervising VP Biden's detail, and finally overseeing the agency's protective mission under the Trump administration. As I stated at the hearing yesterday, all of you are worthy of trust and confidence. You deserve the nation's support in carrying out our critical mission. One of my favorite things about this workforce is that the men and women are fiercely committed to our mission. Thank you for all that you do and will continue to do for our great nation. Bernard, is it under your impression that this resignation will be accepted and there will be a replacement found for this role?
Yes, and quickly. And as Tim mentioned, I also concur this should definitely be a senior leader with a lot of Secret Service experience, or the vast majority of their experience leading in the Secret Service, demonstrated excellence in the past, because that's going to give that person an instant credibility. And they have to have it. I mean, the agency is facing the pinnacle of their protection mission. They're rolling into an election. Although the candidate level is going to be low this time around, it's a significant strain on them. And they have to have the confidence in their leader. And I think that's going to happen quickly.
Yeah, let me go ahead and get this because it appears the resignation has been accepted, as we do have a statement from the president, from Joe Biden, on the Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle's resignation. And if we have that, if not, we'll show you some video of the hearing yesterday. But this is what it says. It says, Jill and I are grateful to Director Kim Cheadle for her decades of public service. She has selflessly dedicated and risked her life to protect our nation throughout her career in the United States Secret Service. We especially thank her for answering the call to lead the Secret Service during our administration, and we are grateful for her service to our family. As a leader, it takes honor, courage, and incredible integrity to take full responsibility for an organization tasked with one of the most challenging jobs in public service. The independent review to get to the bottom of what happened on July 13th continues, and I look forward to assessing its conclusions. We all know what happened that day can never happen again as we move forward. I wish Kim all the best, and I will plan to appoint a new director soon. So that's news in itself there, Tim, that President Biden, again, whom appointed Kim Cheadle to the position, will once again, as he says in this statement, he plans to appoint a new director soon. Tim, your thoughts there on the resignation letter and also the letter from President Joe Biden?
Well, on the resignation letter, I'm not going to pile on Kim. Kim did the right thing. She's taken responsibility, at least in writing, and yesterday was a disaster. Everybody knows it, but she's stepping away at the right time. Now, in terms of who the next director is going to be, I hope we don't go through that same vetting process that we did the last time, because the Secret Service now is an agency in crisis. You have to have, and I agree with my colleague, you have to have trained, skilled, vetted leaders. And by the way, it's not just, the director position that should be under review. She said a number of times she wasn't aware or she wasn't briefed. Well, guess what? That's down the food chain. And so I think it's time to look afresh and anew at the Secret Service's mission. We have to change this dynamic of only wanting this type of person back to who's the most credible, who's the most qualified, because they're in a situation they need dynamic, powerful leadership right now. Because again, the great men of the U.S. Secret Service that do, and women, I'm sorry, that do the job every day, they shouldn't remain under this cloud. They're the most elite protective organization in the world. I hope we get back to that.
Absolutely. Who can do the job the best? Tim Miller and Bernard Zapor. Gentlemen, thanks so much for responding to this breaking news. We do appreciate it. Our coverage